Why do you want that once if the chairperson of the African Union has said something, then the chairperson of the African Union Commission?
Well, I have a reason, because we have seen statements from both of them coming out on a different issues.
The chairperson of the African Union Commission, is under the chairperson of the African Union. There are new rules of games. That's an insult, not to Moussa Faki, but to heads of state, including the heads of state of Ghana. You know, this is a member state, own organizations. This Debbie is one who did submit the candidature of Moussa Faki Mahamat. He himself was not sure. Nothing, neither strange nor spectacular. It's the sovereign will of member state.
Hello, good afternoon. Welcome to the show. Today we have His Excellency Professor Pierre Mukoko with us. So this is one of the sessions that we are doing a continued discussion on the elections, the upcoming election of the African Union of the 2021, particularly focusing on the election of the African Union Commission chairperson. So if you have followed what we did before, we did a couple of videos on this. Now we are here to get an insight from the AU side, which we are glad, and for them also to be on board and give their side of story. Welcome, Professor Pierre Mukoko.
Thank you, Mahlet.
Thank you, to spare your time. I understand it's a hectic time, meetings after meetings are going on. Let me just say a few words about Professor Mukoko. He is currently a head of the African Union Institutional Reforms Unit, but prior to that, he held the position of, he served as in various ministerial positions in Cameroon from where he is. Like Minister of External Relations, Communication, and he served as the government spokesperson. So let me just kick the first question by asking, just tell us about what the electoral process looks like, just briefly, and if the reforms that AU is going through right now has an impact on this on the coming up election of the commission.
Thank you so much. Let me first of all just remind all of us that there's a robust institutional reform that is going on since July 2016, and in November 2018 there was an extraordinary summit fully dedicated to that institutional reform process. So since November 2018, there are new rules of games as far as the electoral process is concerned. Member states have decided that contrarily to what used to take place, the process will bring on board a panel of eminent Africans, 5, one per region, whose mandate will be to pre-select a ranked pool of candidatures from the 5 regions. That panel is assisted by an African independent HR, human resources firm. So the process is, since November 2018, the process is the following. The panel of eminent Africans assisted by an independent African human resources firm, receives candidatures from all the 55 member states.
For the position of a chairperson, you are talking
for
about.
all the positions.
All the commissioners.
For all the commissioners. And then pre-select those candidature that fit with the job profiles that they elaborate with the assistance of the that independent HR firm. And after that, those pre-selections, those candidatures are made public, and then member states can cast their votes. So that's, you see, the process. So let me tell you exactly how things have been evolving since the beginning of this process. The panel of eminent Africans made up of they're supposed to be 5, but actually there are 4 from 4 regions. From the central region is the former Prime Minister of Cameroon, Young Philemon. And then from the eastern region is the former ambassador to the AU, Ambassador Konjit from Ethiopia. And from Southern Africa, it's Ambassador Kalomo from Namibia. And from Western Africa is Honorable Chief Justice Jallo from the Gambia. Unfortunately, the northern region did not appoint a member of that panel. So the panel met from March to June, let's say end of May, to set up, first of all, to select that independent HR firm. After an international open tender, they did select PwC, Pricewaterhouse and Coopers, Kenya, that is assisting them. They did elaborate job profiles for each of the positions. For chairperson, 6 commissioners. Let me take advantage of this just to inform the viewers and the listeners that up till now we have a commission of 10 members, 5 female and 5 males. But since November 2018, there was a reduction of the number of members of the commission. From 10, we have now, for the new commission, we have 8 members of the commission, 1 chairperson, 1 deputy chairperson, and 6 commissioners. So all these 8 positions, job profiles were developed by the panel. Why is that the panel? It's because member states wanted this process to be totally depoliticized at the phase of pre-selection, so as to make sure that the commission will be composed of highly qualified personalities. I'm not saying that those who are there now are not highly qualified, but the process is less politicized than it used to be. So the panel did develop that job profiles with the assistance of that HR firm. And at the end of May, those positions and those job profiles were submitted to the Office of the Legal Counsel of the Union, end of May. And the Office of the Legal Counsel advertised those positions through the AU web address, and through each sent note verbals to each of the 55 member states. So positions are open. These are the job profiles for each of the positions. So member state had 3 months 3 months to submit the candidatures of the nationals to all of these 8 positions. From the 3rd of June to the 4th of September at 5 p.m. Ethiopian time. So after those 3 months, candidatures that were received by the Office of the Legal Counsel were sent on around the 9th of September back to the panel. These are candidatures that are duly endorsed by member state, because for your viewers to clearly understand, candidatures, of course, come from individual citizens, of course. You need to be interested yourself if you want to submit your candidature. Mm-hmm. But for your candidature to be admitted by the Office of the Legal Counsel of the Union, your candidature needs to be endorsed by your government. So it's not an individual citizen that is sending his candidature to the Office of the Legal Counsel at the headquarters of the African Union Commission in Addis Ababa. No, it's the member state that sent your candidature, not even directly to the Office of the Legal Counsel, but to the office of the dean of the region. The dean, it means the longest serving ambassador from that region. We have 5 regions. So we have 5 deans of the regions. So when candidatures comes, let's say from the East, all those candidatures are centralized at the office of the dean of the Eastern region. And it is incumbent on that dean to physically submit the candidature, the file, to the Office of the Legal Counsel. And the 5 deans had to do that before latest on the 4th of September at 5 p.m. Ethiopian time. So that's the process. After that, the Office of the Legal Counsel just make sure that those candidatures are all endorsed and send them back to the panel. Once they are back to the panel, then the panel started now the exercise of pre-selecting those candidatures that fit with the job profiles, with condition requirements, set in those different job profiles. And after 1 month of hard work, it's totally independent. Nobody knows, neither the chairperson, nor the deputy chairperson, no commissioners, no official of the commission, not even the Office of the Legal Counsel. Nobody knows what the panel is doing. At the end of their work, which took 1 month, on the 4th of October, the panel sent to the Office of the Legal Counsel that pool of pre-qualified candidates for different positions of commissioners for the 6 commissioners. The mandate of the panel is about the candidatures for commissioners. As far as the chairperson and the deputy chairpersons are concerned, The process is the following. The individual member state endorse candidature that they want to endorse, then send them directly to the office of the legal counsel. Those candidatures, the chairperson and the deputy chairperson, do not go through the panel. It's the office of the legal counsel that makes sure that those candidatures fit with the requirements that are set in the rules of procedures of the Assembly as amended during the extraordinary summit of heads of state and government in November 2018. Once they are received by the Office of the Legal Counsel, the Office of the Legal Counsel makes a presentation to the Permanent Representatives Committee, which is the committee of ambassadors to the African Union. And those candidatures are made public. This is the list of candidatures for chairperson. This is the list of candidature for deputy chairperson. Why? Number one, for the chairperson. The chairperson is the legal representatives of the union. He is also the accounting officer. But as the legal representatives, he needs to be highly qualified in international relations, political science, economics, and so forth, because he's really as a foreign minister of the union. The deputy chair, so the technicality of his work is not, that compulsory as a commissioner for, let's say, infrastructure and energy. You cannot be a medical doctor and say you want to be commissioner for infrastructure and energy, just to illustrate, right? You cannot be a psychologist and say he wants to be commissioner for trade industry, mining, and so forth. So for those 6 commissioners, the African continent need highly qualified people in those specific areas. As far as the chairperson position is concerned, you need a highly qualified, well-experienced personality. We can, cater for the, let's say, the image and the interest of the continent. So that's the reason why the candidatures for chairperson are not, let's say, examined by the panel. So for the DCP, actually, there's one specificity is that the deputy chairperson is the one who is in charge of keeping the house in order, the African Union Commission. So at least what is expected for the next DCP is a minimum of qualifications in terms of financial management, accounting, human resource management. But those things feature on the CV of each of the candidates. And it's up to member state on election day to decide. So that's for DCP or chairperson and deputy chairperson. The candidatures are made public. So for this time, what happened is that out of about, for the chairperson, only one candidature came from the onset. For deputy chairperson, the Office of the Legal Counsel receives about 15 candidatures. For commissioners, it's about 100. I mean, just totalizing for the 6 commissioners' positions, about 100 candidatures. After the pre-selection by the panel for commissioners, we have, let's say, about, I don't know the exact figures, but 30 to 40 in the total of the 6 commissioners. For chairperson, it's still one candidate. For DCP, deputy chairperson is now around 5 candidates, because some member states who have submitted some candidatures have decided to withdraw those candidatures. Let's say, for instance, South Africa.
For the chairperson?
No, for chairperson, there's only one member state, Chad, who sent the candidature through the Dean of Central African Region. And that candidature, as far as I can remember, came on the 1st of September. Which means
the current chairperson.
Yes, 3 days before the closure, the closing of the process. Of 1st September is on the 4th of September, as I told you, at 5 p.m. was the deadline. For DCP, the deputy chairperson, I know, for instance, South Africa did submit 2 candidatures, but they finally withdrew those candidatures. And some other member states also did the same. So we have for chairperson 1 candidature, deputy chairperson but 5 candidatures, and for commissioners a number of candidatures. So that's where we are.
Good. So for chairperson, do you know, maybe, I don't know if it's in your interest, in the interest of the institution, do you know why that there was no submission of candidature for the chairperson? Why? Like, did such a thing happen before in the history of the African Union?
Yes, you know, Sister Mahlet, you're a specialist, you're an expert of African Union, because I did follow some of your programs. I know you know what is happening. You know, this is a member state, you know, own organizations. So member states are sovereign state, as you know. Heads of state make their own decision.
Yes, true.
They decide who they want to send as and endorse as candidates. So it's difficult for me, for my humble person, to reply on behalf of 54 heads of state and government, because out of the 55 heads of state and government, only 1 head of state submitted a candidature from it was Chad, President Idriss Déby Itno. Idriss Déby is one who did submit the candidature of Moussa Faki Mahamat. And to be frank with you, because I personally know Moussa Faki Mahamat for years, we were foreign ministers at the same time, foreign minister of Chad, and I was foreign minister of Cameroon, so we know each other for years. He himself was not sure. Was not sure. He was still waiting. He sent his application to his president. He waited for 3 months with no response. It's on the 1st of September, you know, the closing was on the 4th of September, that finally President Déby said, okay. He sent his file to the ambassador of Chad in Addis and to the Dean of Central African Republic, who is Ambassador Makaya from the Congo, Republic of the Congo. And on the 1st September, both Ambassador Makaya of Congo and the Ambassador of Chad came here at the headquarters of the African Union Commission in the bureau at the office of the legal counsel to physically, because you need to come physically, not the candidate. You don't need to see the candidate, but your ambassador and the dean to submit your candidature. This is what happened. Okay. There's nothing neither strange nor spectacular. It's the sovereign will of member state, because those very same member state did submit different candidatures for the position of deputy chairpersons and for the 6 positions of commissioners.
but they opted not to submit any candidature for the chairperson. Okay, fair enough. It's clear, but allow me to think loudly and to bring one precedent, you know, as a Pan-African or as an African. There's this thing that disturbs me. We are globally 1.7 billion Africans, including the diaspora, right? In the continent, 1.3 billion. Now, you know, just to have one candidature to run for the next term, that's the problem. Isn't that like a bit of a disrespect in the face of the people that we don't have other qualified people to run as a competitor with the current chairperson? How do you view that? And I have a reason for saying this. And also I want to bring a precedent, correct me if I am mistaken. Back in 2017, when His Excellency Faki Mahamat came to be a chairperson, I remember, I think there were only few candidatures, and it was allowed to be something happened and they extended it and additional candidatures were submitted just to make it, you know, like democratic, if you want to say. But again, yes, it is the decision of the member states. And then that's how His Excellency Faki Mahamat came to be one of the candidature, and eventually he won, and so he became the chairperson. How about, why not such, I would say, exemplar procedures or such procedures are not considered?
Mahlet, let me tell you what.
Okay.
I know you know, and your listeners, viewers know that the African Development Bank is the #1 financial institution in Africa, right? You have African states that are members, you have Asian states, you have European states, you have American states. It is a huge institution, a huge institution. What happened the last time? Just a few months back, when it came to renew the mandate of the president, the chairperson of African Development Bank. It was an open competition, but only one candidate. The outgoing president, Adesina from Nigeria, was the only one. It was open to all member states. But you know, heads of state know what they do. I'm a former Minister of Foreign Affairs. I know what I'm talking about. I've cast the vote of Cameroon when it came to electing Madame Zuma. I was there representing President Paul Biya myself. So for me, it's not theory. I know how those things happen. Diplomacy is diplomacy. Heads of state talk to each other on a daily basis. They know what they're doing. They know what is best for Africa. They know. For African Development Bank, they decided that only Nigeria will send the candidature. Cameroon would have sent the candidature. We did that. I was Minister of Communications in 2005. I even was campaigning for the candidate of Cameroon to the position of president of the African Development Bank when Kaberuka was elected a long time ago, right? Mm-hmm. So this time, Adesina was the current president. There was one to stand for his own re-election, and he was re-elected at unanimity, as you know, total unanimity. So you cannot, you know, heads of states are elected after a competitive election. They have the mandate of the people. They make decisions on a daily basis on behalf of their own population. If they decide this time exactly what they did a few months ago, for the African Development Bank, they decide for the African Union Commission that only one candidate, who happens to be the outgoing, it means that they have assessed him themselves. They know him personally. And I'm not Moussa Faki's spokesperson, although he's my friend and brother. But what I can tell you, as a former foreign minister, that it is the first time in the history of Africa, since the OAU in 1963, that the chairperson, sitting chairperson, visit all the 55 member states. It has never happened before. The remaining three, he just came back yesterday from Liberia, Sierra Leone, and the third one. So all those heads of state know him physically, personally. He moved from one member state to the other, from one capital to the other, which is something terrible, physically speaking. So I'm not campaigning for it because although I can be part of the campaign team, but here I'm speaking in my capacity as the head of the Reform Implementation Unit. So there's no mystery in that. It's a sovereign decision by heads of state, and he or she who respect African heads of state must respect their decisions. Still, for Moussa Faki, I've heard someone say, Almighty Moussa Faki. That's when someone is saying, Almighty Moussa Faki did this, Moussa Faki did that, to be the only candidate. That's an insult, not to Moussa Faki, but to heads of state, including the heads of state of Ghana, because the gentleman who spoke with you is from Ghana. President Nana Akufo-Addo decided to send a candidate, a female candidate, for deputy chairperson. There's a Ghanaian female candidate from Ghana for the position of deputy chairperson, not for chairperson. I even heard some names that X and Y sent the candidature, the former ambassador of the AU to Washington, so it's from Zimbabwe, sent the candidature that was approved. That's nonsense, totally nonsense. I know, she's my sister, I know her. If
nonsense means what? In a sense that it wasn't sent? Is that what you're saying? Or?
No, she has to go through a president. She knows that. She cannot send a candidate. She knows that. If she wants to be candidate, she has to send a candidate through the president of Zimbabwe. Then the president of Zimbabwe will send the candidature to the dean of Southern Africa. And the dean of Southern Africa will then come physically with the ambassador of Zimbabwe. Still, Zimbabwe has candidatures for other positions. It means that president of Zimbabwe decided to submit other candidatures for other positions. So it's very important that your viewers understand there's no mystery, there's no treachery, things are clear and transparent. And now, Moussa Faki Mahamat is the sole candidate. It does not mean that he's going to be elected. No, he need to have 2/3 majority. I was in the hall, Mandela Hall, a few years ago, when Jean Ping, as the outgoing chairperson, was a candidate. There were about 5 candidates. Jean Ping came at the 4th round. He remained, he was the sole candidate after the 1st round, 2nd round, 3rd round. He remained the sole candidate. He needed 2/3 majority. He couldn't have the 2/3 majority. He failed because of 2 votes, lack of 2 votes from 2 member states. The election came 6 months later. Madam Zuma, after the 1st round, 2nd round, 3rd round, Madam Zuma stood alone on the 4th round. And she was elected with 1 or 2 seats. above the two-thirds majority. So this is a very serious exercise by heads of state. They don't joke with that. On D-Day will be next week. On the 7th of February, they will elect the new chairperson of the commission. They will elect the new deputy chairperson of the commission. And as you know now, because of the parity, gender parity of the AU Commission, and Africans must be proud, because it is the only international organization in the world where there is a gender parity. Now, 5 males, 5 females, 5 males. Now, for the next commission, we have 4 females and 4 males. But to tell you what, there's something new. In case the chairperson is a female, the deputy chairperson is a male, and vice versa. Meaning what? That if chairperson Moussa Faki Mahamat is elected, if is elected, all males candidatures are disqualified for deputy chairperson. Deputy chairperson. So that's part of the reform, to make sure that this time and for the future, we will always have a chairperson which is male or which is female, then the deputy is a male, and vice versa. So I think it's very important, because of the importance of your channel, is that the listeners know exactly the rules of the game. Nobody is trying to cheat anybody. It is clear. And let's wait on the 7th of September. And for the information of your viewers, the process, the final phase of the process, we start with the elections of the chairperson on the 7th of February by heads of state and government. Immediately after that election, on the same day, immediately after that, the election of the new deputy chairperson by heads of state and government. Then that's the end for heads of state and government. Then the executive council, which is the meeting of Minister of Foreign Affairs or Minister of External Relations, as we say in Cameroon, will now start electing commissioners by alphabetical order in English. Alphabetical order in English. Each of commission, the 6. So we have 2 sets of elections for the commission. Chairperson, deputy chairperson, heads of state and government on the 7th. Deputy and then commissioners, it might be the same day in the afternoon, depending on the time, and it might be Monday, which we still don't know. The executive council will elect the commission, the 6 commissioners.
Okay, thank you for that elaborated details. Now, looking back for the 4 years since the current chairperson came as a leader of the institution, we have seen that maybe it might not be completely new only to his term, but at least some of the complaints have made it to publication, both visually and in written, in articles, complaints of corruption, harassment, and cronyism. Now, still, now the election, he's running for the 2nd term. What are the mechanisms and measures that you are putting in place to correct those things, and have you done anything, to correct those things?
Well, now we're moving out of my capacity as head of the reform unit. But what I can say is that long as I was Minister of Foreign Affairs, I used to come here. We used to spend a week in Addis Ababa. But by taking that position of head of the reform unit, I've learned a lot. I've learned a lot of how not only the commission, because I'm in charge of the reform under the leadership of President Kagame and the supervision of the chairperson, Moussa Faki Mahamat, of all the organs. It's not only the commission. So I'm dealing with the the Pan-African Parliament, with the Court of People's and Human Rights, with the commissions, and so forth. So I have a clear idea of how things really actually move. I think what I would suggest is that maybe after the election we take more time so that I explain a lot of things. So this issue of corruption, this issue of collusion, this issue of sexual harassment came for the first time, you know, because we've been hearing those things over the years. But the current chairperson took stringent measures of that. What you need to know is that there's a division of labor between, I don't want to go into those things because it might sound as if I'm accusing someone, not accusing anyone. But there is a division of labor. The chairperson, as I told you, is not in charge of the day-to-day management of the commission. It's not possible. It's not possible. He's the boss, of course, but it's not one. You have the office of the deputy chairperson. That is in charge of financial management, human resource, administration, human resource, finances of the union. So decision was made to see to it that such thing does not happen anymore. There was a committee of eminent Africans that were put in place to inquire that sexual harassment, right? Those complaints came particularly from one department. I don't want to cite that department. There was a whole an inquiry, an in-depth inquiry into what happened, and some, let's say, recommendations were made by that panel that was put in place by the chairperson of the African Union Commission, Moussa Faki Mahamat. And in Nouakchott, yes, last year, Nouakchott, the summit, the member states, heads of state and government decided to launch a forensic audit on all those accusations. So an independent firm was also selected, which has just submitted this report. The PRC, Permanent Representative Committee, has analyzed those reports 3 days ago. Then those recommendations will be duly implemented. But what I can also say is that the staff rules and regulations and the financial rules and regulations of the union, of the commission, are, let's say, being reviewed currently, and maybe the new version might be presented to the Executive Council next week. So people think that the chairperson can, this is what I've heard during the last program, that Moussa Faki did nothing. You know, in our national government, I'm not accusing the union, but we are reforming, and that needs to be reformed too. When you're a director, for instance, right? One of your staff is not doing what he is supposed to do. You can send him a warning. After the warning, you can decide to suspend him. The chairperson of the African Union Commission cannot suspend him. He can at least, he can maybe give a warning when it's come to regular staff. But you need to go through the process, the disciplinary process, to the disciplinary board. it takes 6 months because the staff rules of regulation are very protective of the staff, which is normal. So what needs to be clarified in this process of reform is to see to it that the chairperson has a minimum of powers, not only the chairperson, the deputy chairperson, commissioners, directors, heads of divisions. At each level, each official must have a minimum of possibilities in case there is, let's say, a misbehavior by a staff. But you cannot also expose staff without giving them protection. So that's where you need to strike a balance. It's not easy at all. Those complaints are there, but I think bit by bit, with this reform process going on, things will get better and better.
Okay, let's because of time, let me jump to the other question. In terms of the year that just ended a month ago, the theme of the year was silencing the guns. Obviously, the guns are not silent, but I want to cite 2 events. Really, for me as an Ethiopian and as an African, there was something that I expected from the African Union, which didn't happen, which was these events came from one office in the world, from the office of from the White House, by the former president of the US, Donald Trump, which he said publicly that Egypt can go and now blow or bomb the great Ethiopian Renaissance Dam. And the other one is, which he recognized in his Twitter, Morocco's claim over the Arab Sahrawi Democratic Republic, which by itself is a sovereign state of the African Union, or the then Organization of African Union, since 1982. Now, this is one, endangering the sovereignty of the continent. And second, it's also citing war or declaring war, if you will, on the continent. And I haven't seen anything that came out, a statement condemning this, particularly from the African Union chairperson. I say particularly because I have seen other statements from the current chairperson, like, for example, the South African presidents regarding the dam and others. Why did you opt, why the African Union, why the chairperson opted for silence on these things?
Well, still we're going out of my, because I don't want to by training and by experience, when I take the floor, let's say in the media, I don't speak on my behalf. Right? But let me just tell you things. As an African citizen, so you said the African Union chairperson made a pronouncement, he made a statement. If African Union chairperson, President Cyril Matamela Ramaphosa of South Africa, yes, that's Africa. Why do you want the ones, if the chairperson of the African Union has said something, then the chairperson of the African Union Commission?
Well, I have a reason, because we have seen statements from both of them coming out on a different issues. That's why I made a difference.
No, you cannot make a difference. You cannot make a difference at all. The chairperson of the African Union Commission, is under the chairperson of the African Union. The chairperson of the African Union is the head of state, is the one chairing the assembly of heads of state and government. Once he makes a statement, you expect the chairperson of the commission. The commission is one organ out of 10, 11 organs, right? But what I know is that the position of His Excellency Moussa Faki Mahamat is constant in the defense of the interests of the African continent. You speak about what the outgoing or the past president of the USA, Donald Trump, said, or the decision he made on the sovereignty of Morocco on Western Sahara. But that's America, right? Here we have a process which is known. I was physically in Washington. There's a clear process which is under the United Nations, and the African Union Commission adheres. Is in line. Yes, is in line. The Commission is in line with that United Nations process. So I don't know. For us, there's no contradiction. The chairperson does not automatically have to make a statement when the chairperson of the union, a head of state, on behalf of all heads of state and government, has already pronounced himself.
Okay.
Are we okay with that?
Well, can we take for granted when the chairperson of the year makes statements, then the African Union Commission chairperson doesn't have to make one? Can we take that for granted?
No, you cannot take it for granted. I'm giving you my personal view. It's not the view of the Commission.
Okay.
I'm professor of international relations. I've trained many diplomats with our ambassadors here and there. So at least as a professor of international relations and political science, I can have my own personal views. But what I'm saying is cannot commit the Commission on that specifically. All I said before on the electoral process and so forth, yes, it commits not only the Commission, but it commits the Union.
Okay, it's fine. We are out of time. Like in few seconds, if you can say something like in 20 seconds for our viewers, what do you want to pass? Any message?
Well, what I want to say to African citizens and the diaspora is that there's institutional reform that is going on that aim to better connect the Union to its citizens in the continent and the diaspora. So they really need to be part of that process of reform, because that's in the best interest of all of us.
Thank you very much, Professor Pierre Mukoko. That was very a good discussion, and I hope this will bring a clarity on the electoral process of the upcoming election of the African Union. And also, we will continue to bring experts both from the civil society organization side and also from the AU side, and we will continue to discuss until the results are known, but not only on the issues pertaining to the election. We will also bring experts from both sides, both from the CSO and then from the African Union side, on issues that are happening in the continent. My message out there for the African citizens is that the African Union, we should not think that the African Union is something that belongs to the elites. I mean, we should claim it. It's as an African citizen, it's our birthright to claim it. And we have to make it work for the cause of the people. That's our duty. And that's also the obligation of the African Union Commission. So if you find this video interesting, please spread the word and share it with other people. And if you like it, give us a thumbs up, and also let us know what you think on these issues. Please do comment us below, and also let us know on what topic you want us to discuss, or you want us to bring guests. Thank you very much.